Lillian Stromberg, the executive editor at Planning Magazine at the American Planning Association. I'm here in Washington, D.C. for APA's 2015 Policy and Advocacy Conference, and my guest is Elizabeth Wood. She is a planner from the town of Windham, New Hampshire. She's also the New Hampshire State Director for the Northern New England Planners Association. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Elizabeth has a very cool project going on right now. As you know, New Hampshire is the first state to get the primaries. Those happen in February. She's taken it upon herself, along with some of her other planner colleagues in the state, to meet just as many presidential candidates as she can. So she's getting face time with these people who want to run our country. I think it's pretty cool, actually. Tell us a little bit about what made you want to do this project. How'd you get started?
I mean, how cool is it to meet the president? Planners are really trying hard to advocate our profession and our policies. And this is an opportunity to capitalize on that. Essentially, you have every single candidate, and I believe there's 22 right now. I mean, the number does change. It goes up, it goes down as candidates join or drop out. But every single candidate is coming through New Hampshire day after day after day, sometimes 5 in a day, 10 in a day, depending on what event is occurring. And this has started mainly in March, and it's going to continue until February.
So here in Washington, D.C. at the Advocacy Conference, planners are going to the Hill, they're talking to their reps. We're, on their turf. This time they're coming to you. They want to know what you have to say.
Exactly. When you are in Washington, D.C., the congressmen and the senators are so busy. They have hundreds and thousands of people calling their office and coming in their door and asking for their time, and their time is very precious. So they selectively choose who they're going to spend time with. And unfortunately, planners are not wealthy hired lobbyists or anything of that nature, and it's not as easy for us to get in the door when we come here in Washington.
Tell us about what you're talking to these candidates about. Are you talking generally about planning? Are you talking about specific policies or bills?
Well, I'm doing a little bit of both. Many people don't know what planning is. Some of the candidates are very versed in what planning is. Hillary Clinton knew quite a bit about planning. Some of the governors, Chris Christie and Governor Kasich, and a couple of the others knew quite a bit about planning, Jeb Bush, because they are involved with their state levels. But some of them didn't know much about planning, or they gave me generalized answers into getting to me that maybe they didn't know so much. So I did try to educate them as to who planners are and what we do. And then the second part of your question is as far as advocating any policies. Well, I try to stay away from advocating any specific bills to these candidates, but I do make an effort to push the planning advocacy points that APA has developed. And I don't, I do this in a generalized fashion. I try to ask each candidate the similar kinds of questions so that I get give them equal treatment and that sort of thing.
So how many people have you talked to so far?
How many candidates? 12 candidates so far I have successfully gained interviews from. One I interned for, interned for Rick Perry in Texas, but that doesn't count because that was before this primary, and he dropped out already. But yes, I've spoken to Ben Carson, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, Martin O'Malley, Bernie Sanders, and the list goes on.
Any tips you would give other planners who want to talk to their elected representatives about the planning issues that are important to them? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say that you're not going to have the advantages that I have at the moment, or that other planners in New Hampshire have, or maybe some of the folks in Iowa might also have this advantage because the Iowa caucus is there and they're getting quite a bit of exposure. But aside from that, every community, every state has elections. So when your election time rolls around, that's when your candidates are going to be asking for your time and asking for your votes, and that's when you have their ear.
Great. Well, thanks. This is such a neat project, and I hope that you'll keep us posted on how things are going. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Again, Elizabeth Wood is a community planner from Windham, New Hampshire, and she's also the state director for the Northern New England Planners Association.